Welcome all you ghost schools and Hollyweirdos. Today we have a very delicious treat for you all. We're back from a long-awaited hiatus. So we're coming in hot, we're coming in haunted, and slightly possessed. Filling in for Bryce Mitchell-Williams is our friend Justin Mayfield, horror connoisseur, and I'm your host, Tammy Merhab Chavez. And I'm like getting a bit of the shakes because after what we just experienced last week, guys, Verónica Falcón here is joining us on today's episode. She is the star of the new upcoming film, The Mummy by Cronin, and we have many, many things to unwrap with her today. Thank you so much for joining us, Veronica.
No, thank you so much for inviting us, and thank you so much for loving the movie so much.
Yes, we truly
it was incredible.
Enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. Yes, I think it's a great movie, to be honest.
And you are no stranger to horror at all because you have a couple of credits under your belt. And I mean, you've toe dipped into the horror film with Imaginary. Mm-hmm. And now you've swan dived into it with Lee Cronin and James Wan and Jason Blum.
Yes.
Who, if you guys don't know, I mean, hello, they're
Masters
The
of
unholy
horror.
trinity.
They are the holy.
Masters.
That is true. The Holy
Trinity. Exactly.
Yes. So how was it like working with them and diving deeper into the horror genre in your acting career?
It was incredible. It was one of the most fun roles and projects I've ever worked with. Ever worked in. I did some horror when I was in Mexico I did some series, I did some movies. This is my third movie with Blumhouse. Wow. I did the last installment of The Purge as well. But Lee Cronin is literally one of the masters of the new horror. Like, he's brilliant. And he's a kind, interesting, creative, daring director. And as an actor, that's a treat. You know, it's a joy to work with someone like that.
I mean, I can't imagine.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and of course, Blumhouse, and I mean, come on, these guys, as you said, is the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity,
they
I know.
are brilliant at what they do, and so yeah, it's a gift, to be part of this film. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, you definitely left a mark in every sense of the word. Like, we couldn't sleep last night, but we want to go ahead and go straight into your role. Like, your character Carmen is the heart of the family of this film.
Yes.
And Senora, like, she reminds me of my tias and my abuelas también. Like, I want to know, like, how did you prepare to get into this role, to get into, Carmen's personality? I feel like we all had a Carmen in our lives.
We all, and if we don't, we should.
Yes.
She's fabulous. No, Lee created this character inspired by the strong women in his family, his mother, his aunts. Wow. And when I read the role the first time, I couldn't finish reading the script. That's how scary it is. I started reading it, and at one point I was like, oh my God, it was scary. And then I came downstairs, my son was prepping dinner, and I'm like, it's horrible. And he's like, what do you mean? Is it bad? I say, no, it's brilliant, but it's horrible. It's really scary. He's like, well, Mom, it's a horror movie. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So that was the first impression, the script, the power of that script. Usually as an actor, when I know I would love to play a role, it's because I just feel it.
Yeah.
I just feel a pull towards the material, and I certainly feel it. And then I met Lee, and I had a call back with him after I did the original audition. And at one point when we started working, he was telling me, this role was based on inspired by all the strong women that he loved so much in his family. And I say, it's funny that you say that, because the first time I read it, I thought of my grandma, my great-grandma, my mom, but I also thought of this aunt that was like my grandma aunt, like the the sister of my grandpa. And I was like, that's Carmen. She was very tall, and she was very straight, and she was very elegant in her own way.
Yes.
But she had this sense of humor and this warmth. And what moved me so much about the character, that is, it's a woman that profoundly loves her family. Yeah. And it's not only her daughter she's protecting, it's her daughter and the granddaughter and the grandson and the other granddaughter and the son-in-law. And she's like the matriarch of the family. And of course, she has to be strong, and she has to protect them somehow, and to support them with this horrific thing they're living through. you know, and even though she has to do all that, she still finds a moment of humor. She still is so loving and so warm. And I thought it was just a beautiful character to play. It's an honor.
Yes.
And on the opposite side of that, Carmen gets it worse than anyone
my
else
gosh.
in the whole
She
film.
does. We don't want to have any spoilers, but
I needed her rosary at that point.
I've seen people say, "Poor grandma." I mean, they're like,
I
"Oh my
know.
God, this woman." But that's and that's also fantastic because she represents the faith. She represents love. She represents the good. And these are evil forces, and is this encounter between good and evil, between love and violence and hatred and all those things, and I love that she represents that, and I love that we need more of that in the world right now, I think.
And also self-sacrifice, she
Yes.
really does put her life on the line and
Yes.
has one of the most diabolical and violent kills I've ever seen too in a horror film. Like you're like, oh, okay, she's gonna pull through. Spoiler alert.
Double tap.
It was a double tap.
But there are surprises after that. There
were.
are surprises that if you go see the movie, I'm telling you, that's one thing Lee has, amongst many other things he has, the director. He's surprising.
Yes.
When you think it's gonna go this way, suddenly happen, and he's like, you're surprising me. And that's fantastic because, there's a lot of films and a lot of television series and a lot of content that, is good or whatever, but it's not always that surprising. This movie surprises you, I think. And I love that part too.
I was just telling Justin, there's a couple of Easter eggs that we wanted to bring up, but we're going to call them deviled eggs.
The deviled eggs are good. Yes.
No, that was... I was like, I'm not looking at one. We go out over the weekend with my husband, and what's on the appetizer list, deviled eggs. I'm like, I take it back, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't think I'm eating a deviled egg
Ever
again in my life,
Is there anything, did you do anything in particular to prepare, especially for, the physicality?
Yeah,
of,
it's a very physical role.
It really is.
Well, horror is a very particular genre to work in. It's very hard. I think it's one of the hardest roles, genres to work as an actor. And because on one part, you have to have the logic and the construction, but also there's a part that's a nightmare, right? And there's a part that defies logic. And there's also the physical aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And there's also the fact that in this movie, we have animals. We have dangerous animals. Yes. We have kids. Yeah. We have everything, So and being the eldest actor on the call sheet, and being the matriarch of the family, I'm always very protective of the children whenever we work with them, especially in a genre that's so difficult. But so I become like a mama to the kid. I'm always like, are you guys okay? Aww. Not a necessity, because Lee is so careful, so kind with the kids. They were always, when I see them on the screen, I'm like, but we were doing that and they were laughing and they were having a great time. And then you see that and it's like, oh my God, he's a genius.
Yeah.
So so I had to prep, of course, the character construction and everything that I always do as an actor. But then the difference between this and other type of performances is that you really, really have to go with your instinct. You really have to trust the material, your director, and you really have to jump. And it's like sometimes you land, sometimes you don't. That's why you need a director that really knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. In this case, I had one of the best, so I was very lucky. But it's challenging, and you require courage to do certain things. And then the other part is the actual physical aspect of it, because there's a lot of, action. There's a lot of stunts, and of course we had a stunt team that was incredible. I have a stunt woman that was my stunt woman for Carmen, not mine, the characters.
Wait, you didn't do your own stunts?
Veronica. No. It's funny. I did a lot of it, but and I try to do as much as I can. But there is a professional that actually does that for a living. And I think it's very important to respect that, because they are very good at their job. So we had a great connection, and they allow me to do some things. And of course, there's things I wouldn't dare doing because I wouldn't know how. And she was extraordinary, So it's a marriage of two things, because you also have to be open to try to do as much as you can, because I think it's also important for the character. Thankfully, I used to be a dancer way back when. But I still do yoga, and I still train every day, mostly because it is important for me as an actor to be able to do a lot of the things I have to do in films like this, or if I have to ride a horse or you have to be physically able to do those things as much as you can.
And you know your body very well, especially as a dancer.
Yeah, that helped a lot. I used to be, I danced very little. I was mostly a well-known choreographer, but that helped enormously, because body language, in particular in this character, because the character is 15 years older than me. Mm-hmm. So, of course, they age me, and there's an incredible work with all the prosthetics and makeup and hair, but it's also your work as an actor, your physicality, your body, your voice. So that helped a lot. And then there's a second part of the character that required a lot of physical abilities and a lot of corporal expression. And my background as a dancer and as a choreographer definitely helped enormously, enormously. And also to be able to stand, you need a lot of stamina to do these jobs, because it's grueling. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of things happening, and you don't want to risk anybody. You want to be safe with everybody. You're working with kids, so it requires a lot of work. So you come home very happy but very tired.
I bet. Another question: what do you not do? Like, what do you not do, Veronica? Because you dance, you choreograph, you swim in a horror-themed pool, and you are a mama bear on set and everything. But this is to say that you really take what you do very seriously, especially in horror. And now horror is like having its Beyonce moment, especially during the Oscars.
Yeah. There used to be a time where horror was like, it's fantastic. Some of the best directors in the world started with horror. Mm-hmm. And you need very solid actors to be able to do horror right. Because it defies logic, because it's so physical, because it requires so much work. And the arches of the characters can go in 1 second to another, and you can go through the whole spectrum in a second. And then, there's sometimes situations where they're not logical at all, or they're surreal, so you need to have your imagination working, and you need to be able to do all these sounds and the screams and all these things over and over again. Yeah. So your voice needs to be well trained, and it can be exhausting, And now we've seen incredible horror films. The last 2-3 Oscar ceremonies, a lot of awards went to horror. Rightfully so, amazing performances, amazing productions. The hair, makeup, prosthetics on this movie, they are incredible, and the sound design and the photography is beautiful. Even though we're watching something really horrific, it's still beautiful photography. So the quality, the values of production are really high, and that's because Lee respects the genre, and he respects the fans of the genre, and the fans love him back because they're very, very loyal, and they're the best fans.
Yeah,
the best fans ever.
We stalk him.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. No, I love that. Very verbal, very loyal, and that's a gift for an actor.
It is. It truly is. And just to say you worked with him is like a huge gift.
It is.
Yeah. And the holy horror trinity, of course. I just hit my mic.
Yes,
sorry.
Yes. I hope I get to work with them over and over again.
We hope so too.
I was telling them anytime, anywhere, I loved working with you guys, and I really do.
You play the villain in Ozark so well.
Thank you.
It's like, oh, she's going to be nice. And then she opens her mouth. I'm like, she's really scary. Would you ever play a villain for Lee Cronin?
Absolutely. I would play anything he wants me to play. I would play absolutely anything he wants me to play. I trust that man completely. Uh-huh. But I would be lovely to do that.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
100%. That says a lot.
Yeah.
I have to ask you this question, especially bringing the culture layer. And in fact, as a Latina actress, stepping into such an iconic horror world, there's something really powerful about bringing cultural depth and into a storyline that is rooted in legacy. And did you find yourself really pulling from your own background to shape Carmen and to really shape like the essence of that character a little more. Like, did you really had to dig deep into that background?
No, it wasn't deep. It's there. It's in my skin. It's in my soul. It's in who I am. But I also found out, because this is the families in Latin America were so close. We're really, really close.
We were just talking about that.
But you know what? The families all over the world are like that. And that's one thing I really love about this movie, because people all over the world, they love their families, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're from, because we have an international cast. We have people from Egypt, we have people from Ireland, from all over the world, from Spain, from the United States, from everywhere. And we all have stories about our abuelas and our family. And then I started thinking how similar we are. We're very different. We come from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ideas. But at the end of the day, we all understand love. We all understand our families. And that's when I think everybody connects with this family, because it's like, that's my grandma. That's like my mom. That's like me.
That's my little
because
sister.
It's universal.
Yeah.
And I think right now it's very important that we don't forget how similar we all are. Despite our differences, and that's another thing. It was a gift to work with actors from places like Egypt. Like, I've been to Egypt once in my life, long time ago. I absolutely loved it, and then I'm working with these two fantastic Egyptian actresses, and they're talking about their culture and their families, and then the kids, they come from different. My daughter comes from Spain. She's phenomenal, and I just love when the cast of a film. It's very diverse. I really enjoy it.
It was really beautifully blended too. Like, I found myself, I had a moment while watching, I'm like, I am reading subtitles for 2 different languages.
Yes.
Like,
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And
This
you
takes
still
you
get
around.
the movie. And Lee was telling me, like, he did, if he finished the movie and then he would watch it over and over again, because one time he would only focus on the subtitles. One time he would only focus on the sound design. Can you imagine? He said after he finished editing for months and months, I think he said he saw the movie completed just to check every detail 22 times.
Oh, I believe it.
That's why, and that's excellence. And that's why I'm so proud to be in this movie, because it's not only about representation, it's not only about representing my history and my culture and my being Mexican, but it's also about representing them in a place where we're striving for excellence. And that's when we really, when we see not only, a minority actor or in a role, we see it in a good role, in a role that has been really well written, in a production that has been really well thought. And that brings everything up, all of us, and I love that.
You definitely brought a force. And I felt like you brought more than just a force. You brought like a spiritual, almost a supernatural force. But speaking of supernatural forces, we have a friend that wanted to come on and send you a message, but ask you a very important question. Okay. So we introduced you to Bella Lugosly, the spooky spinster, and this is her question to you.
Why, hello, one Miss Veronica Falcón. As this dastardly duo has mentioned, my name is Bella Lugosly, the internet's self-proclaimed favorite spooky spinster. And I come to you today with a question of the spooky variety. A little birdie called Google has told me that you hail from Mexico City, a beautiful place steeped in legends and lore. So my question for you, Veronica, what is your favorite myth or legend from Mexico City?
My favorite legend. Wow, that's a good question, because there's so many. I think one of my favorites, if not my favorite, is La Llorona.
Oh, yes.
You have got to love the Llorona. And it scares me to this day. I heard those stories over and over again. And it really dates back to pre-Hispanic times. But it's been so many, legends around her. And I used to live in Mexico City. I used to live in Coyoacán, which, as you know, and if you don't, it's a very old neighborhood.
Oh my gosh,
very
yes,
beautiful.
I've been there. Yes,
and
beautiful.
it has a lot of stories.
It does. And a haunted bus tour.
Yes.
Highly recommend.
Yes. And I remember, sometimes I would like to take a walk at night, and it has like these pebblestone streets. And sometimes when there was not, well lit, I swear to God, I'm like, I hope she doesn't talk to me. Because I could almost, it was probably, I don't know, maybe my imagination, but I could almost see her like, mis hijos,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, La Llorona scares the hell out of me. And it's also such a sad, horrific story,
It really is.
It's a really horrific story. And there's so many people that are like, we've heard her, we've seen her.
I know.
And it's like, who knows?
La Llorona in Mexico is like Elvis in Vegas. He's just like everywhere. And she's everywhere too.
Everywhere.
Even here in Los Angeles, people have claimed that they've seen her too,
Yeah.
specifically in San Fernando. They've seen a woman with long dark hair and a
Yeah,
white dress.
yeah.
But I mean, I feel like she's almost, universal. in a way.
Omnipresent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then earlier too, we were talking about La Isla de las Muñecas.
De las muñecas,
Yeah.
sí, in Xochimilco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to that island. Have you ever been there?
Yes, but I was in daytime. I would not go in the evening. It's just way too scary. I mean, those dolls, their faces. I'm like, you think in any moment they're just going to jump at me, all of them. And they're going
Yeah.
to eat me or something, and it's just too scary for me. But it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's
a great place.
It is a great
You have to
place.
visit. If you go to Mexico
Oh.
City, you really have to go to see Coyoacán. San Ángel is also very haunted.
Yes.
And there's some mummies in San Ángel.
I heard about that.
There
too.
are some mummies in a convent. Well, in the old days, San Ángel and Coyoacán were really far from the center of the city. Now they're like in the middle of everything. So there were convents in Coyoacán and in San Ángel. And, there's a lot of horror stories. And there's mummies in San Ángel. To this day, you can go and visit.
Yes.
As they are in Guanajuato, in Mexico. And I went once to visit the mummies of Guanajuato.
How was that experience?
Very scary. I was very young, and they kept telling us about these mummies, so we're all excited, all the kids. And then I think nowadays they have like a crystal on top, in front of them, they're like protected. But they used to be like, you could almost touch them. Mm-hmm. That was scary, because they were very well preserved, very, very well
That's
preserved.
what I heard and I've read. Like they look
Yeah.
almost like they're living and breathing.
You can almost feel them breathe. It's
Oh
really,
my God.
And it was dark, and it was very spooky, and that stayed with me as a kid. I mean, I would be scared now, but as a kid, the impact of that, and who would have known that I was going to end up, playing a role in Lee Cronin's mummy.
Who would have known? That's a total 180. It looks like Bella also left you another message here. Let's play it real quick for you.
I love it.
Oh, my. What a devilishly delightful tale. I am terrified in all the best ways, and I certainly know where I'm going on my next vacation. Thank you so much, Veronica, for your gorgeous answer, and thank you to the Hollyweird Paranormal Podcast for pulling me out of the crypt. I'm Bella Lugosi. Have a nice day.
That is Bella for you. Yes.
Love Bella, love her vibe, love her make. I mean, fantastic.
She's a fan of yours. Well, with that said, I mean, what did you think of the film?
I loved the film so much, and I really love it when horror crosses a line that we don't normally see crossed.
Yes.
And Carmen was the line in this movie. Like you felt for her everything she went through, and she really, the transformation that you go through in this movie. It's so incredible to watch. And with everything that was happening on the face to create the character, like, did that help in your performance? Did that hinder your performance in any way?
Oh, no, it absolutely helped. When you get a role like this, it's a lottery. It's very rare for an actor to get a role with this amount of profundity, with this range. It's just rare. And it's challenging, and it's a little scary, but it's what you want as an actor. One of the first questions Lee asked me was, are you okay if we age you? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm as vain as anybody else, like as any actor. But one of the things I love most about being an actor is that possibility of transforming into all these things. And I was wearing from day one, they had to do some teeth because my character has these teeth all the time. They're not mine.
Epic.
So one of the things with the teeth, they were incredibly done. I mean, it was amazing because they take like a whole X-ray of your whole mouth, and then they do this, and you don't feel them once you start using them. But then you realize you speak differently because they are in a different position. So you have to really fast adjust. And then on top of that, I'm performing in a second language because my natural language is Spanish. So that was one of the challenges, that you have to do it, and you have to do it fast because there was not that much. Because I was doing another movie, and I really like went from one to the other, so we didn't have that much time to do it, and they still did it amazingly. But then I had to do it really fast and try to get them to be part of me, and so you're not distracted, so you can listen to my voice correctly and all that.
Well, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Those teeth were like another character.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he likes his teeth, this Lee Cronin. Yeah.
Did you get to keep them by any
Oh, yeah,
chance?
that's true.
No, I wish, I wish. Because who knows? Maybe if we're lucky, we're going to have to use them again. We don't know. No, I think, they stayed. It's a lot of, you never know if they need reshoots, if they need anything. But I don't know how many pairs of teeth in this movie, because it's not one, because sometimes they had to do some things with them.
They fall on
so
the
you had a
floor.
bunch of teeth and a bunch of eyes, and then I have pictures behind the scenes that you have like bunch of teeth, bunch of blood. It's just so crazy,
Where do I walk?
Somewhere in this world, there is a shelf with Veronica Falcon's teeth.
I know.
Yeah,
These were in her
and my
mouth.
hands and my face, and it was
guts.
fun. It was fun. The hair is mine, though. It's
No.
not a wig. It's not a wig. The hair designer and the hair team in the movie, they're incredible. And she's like, because my hair was longer than it is now. And they're like, well, maybe we'll have to cut your hair. And she's like, no, I can make it work. And she did. And it looks incredible. And that's my hair.
Wow.
I don't know how she did it. It was
did a
like
good
an
job.
engineer construction over there. She used like 1,000 pins and things, but it looks incredible.
It looked really good.
It looks
I
incredible.
thought
No,
it like
it's
that
not
had
a
to be a
wig.
wig, but
No.
it looks so good,
I'm
right?
always know. Clock
I
wigs.
know. He's
And
looking for the hairline. Is like,
this
that's impressive.
this is my real hair.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that you've given so much credit to the other departments that went into
Yes.
this
Yes.
film, from like praising the stunt people who make you look better, to the makeup, to the hair people. Like, it's just beautiful as a makeup artist myself to hear
Yes,
talent
absolutely.
recognize all of the
Absolutely.
crafts that go into this.
Talent
There's
thank
a
you.
lot of work, A lot of times people, I don't think they realize how much work and how important it is, because you are one little part of the movie. There's so much. And then, hair and makeup and prosthetics and costumes, they complete that character. Suddenly you wear those clothes and you have the makeup, and then your work starts coming through. But it's everybody, it's not one person. And if we don't respect each other, and if we don't work with each other, then it doesn't work. And as an actor, you have to know that. You have to give credit where credit is due.
That's true.
And Lee had an extraordinary production and crew working with him. And it comes from him, because he's kind, he's generous. And that's why people love working with him. And that's, I think, why it's not only his talent and his creativity, is also his soul as an artist and as a human being, I really
The captain
believe
of the
that.
ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, the captain
Yeah.
of the
You
ship.
have to be a good team player.
And it feels like this latest kind of like class of horror directors is really, they love the genre, and they
Yes.
only want to pay so much attention and mind to every little
Every
detail
single
that goes
detail is
into
well
it.
thought.
And we appreciate that, especially watching it on the big
I
screen.
know.
Yes,
Just
my
picking out
son
everything.
was saying things that I'm not going to say because I would spoil it, but little details. He's like, after we watched the movie, he's like, and that moment when this happened and then this, and he understands so many levels, and he's like, how much detail went into that thinking of this and that.
Believe it.
And I was like, I love that all the work he put as our director and all the work everybody else put, it's appreciated by people when they see it. And that's why I think you have to see The Mummy. You're going to be scared out of your wits, but it's a really good horror film.
Yes, we're still suffering the PTSD.
Oh, yeah. And
Oh, yeah, me too, believe me.
the brevity of it, like right from the jump, it keeps you going throughout it right up until the last
I
shot
was
of
in
the
shock
movie.
like
You're
for 2 days. I'm like, and I was there and I read the script and I still was like, oh my God.
And there was time for comedy too.
There was.
Yeah,
There
there
was,
is
like, a
that's
little
the beauty.
light.
Yeah.
A whole
But
lot
Lee
of
was
dark.
saying, it's important. It's important to have those moments and then balance that with a little release, because it's horrific what we're watching.
The levity that comes from a nice joke after a
Yes,
grotesque
at the
scene
right
is
time.
beautiful.
But that's, comedy is always timing. But I think particularly in horror, the timing has to be exactly
Perfect.
precise because you're coming from a horrible place
Yeah.
and going to a very horrible place,
100%. Veronica, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and speak horror with us.
Thank you.
To take us through your world and to, gab about Mexico and it's like its own little horror stories there.
There are. And thank you so much for loving our movie. I hope everybody goes to and watches it and enjoys it, especially in the cinema. We're going to
Yes.
have it in IMAX, which is going to
Yes.
be another
We're
experience.
just about to bring that up because that is going to be another experience.
And in 4DX. I am terrible with
All the
terms.
words.
Oh my God! All the
But
the
can you
4DX
imagine if
IMAX.
you're watching that and then your seat starts trembling and then you feel this sound? I think it's gonna be incredible. So go watch The Mummy, and it's great to see horror with a community.
Person,
so
great.
much.
Thank
This
you
was
so
excellent.
much.
Thank you.
Veronica. Where can people find you? Where can they stalk you in a good way?
Well, I'm only on
my
Instagram.
address is.
No, I'm only on Instagram. I that's the only social media I know more or less how to handle, and it's @real Veronica Falcon, and it has like the little blue thingy, because there's other Veronica Falcons, but they're like people that follow me or that kindly have been fan clubs or whatnot. But it's real Veronica Falcon, and it has a little, the little blue thing.
Yes, the little check mark. Well, we're definitely going to create another fan club for you. So
Lovely, thank you so
At the
much,
moment
and
right
for
now.
Carmen.
once again, thank you so much, Veronica, for appearing on Hollyweird Paranormal Podcast. We truly appreciate your work and everything you've done, especially in the horror community too.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.